a king who married his brother's widow and triggered a religious war, a billionaire who proposed after 37 days and lost $2.5 billion, and a bride who was literally already married to the groom's son. These aren't Hollywood scripts, they're real marriages that went so catastrophically wrong, they changed history forever. I'm counting down the 20 dumbest marriage blunders ever recorded. And trust me, number 3 will make you want to stay single forever. Starting at number 20. Charles II of Spain, the poster child for why your family tree shouldn't look like a telephone pole. The Habsburgs loved marrying their cousins. And I don't mean distant cousins, I mean close cousins, for generations. Charles II was so inbred that DNA analysis showed he was more inbred than if his parents had been full siblings. His grandfather married his niece. His parents were uncle and niece. His family tree was a family wreath. The result? Charles couldn't chew his own food, was bald by age 35, and was described as short, lame, epileptic, senile, and completely bald before 35. Oh, and impotent, which meant no heirs, which meant the dynasty collapsed, which triggered the War of Spanish Succession that killed 700,000 people, all because great-great-grandpa thought keeping it in the family was a great idea. Roll Tide, I guess. Number 19. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, the couple who quite literally lost their heads over marriage problems. When they married, Louis was 15, Marie was 14. Cute, right? Wrong. Because here's what nobody tells you about this famous couple. Louis didn't consummate the marriage for 7 years. 7 years. Historians debate why. Some say phimosis, others say social anxiety. Either way, the entirety of France was gossiping about whether their king could do the deed his own brother wrote letters mocking him. Marie Antoinette's mother sent physicians from Austria to figure out what was wrong. Eventually, they figured it out, probably via surgery, and had kids. But the damage to the monarchy's image was done. The French people already thought they were out of touch. This just confirmed it. And we all know how that ended. Marie supposedly never said, "Let them eat cake," but she definitely should have said, "Let my husband see a doctor." Number 18. Harold Hamm, the oil billionaire who learned that "I'm bad at texting" is not a valid legal defense. 2012, Harold divorces his second wife after 26 years. His lawyers argue she wasn't really involved in building his $18 billion oil empire. The judge disagrees and awards her $1 billion. That's billion with a B. But here's where Harold made his dumbest move. He appealed. He actually looked at $1 billion settlement and said, "You know what? Let's roll the dice." His ex-wife counter-appealed. The case dragged on for years. Eventually, they settled, but not before Harold wrote her a check for $975 million, which she refused to cash because she wanted more. The lesson: when your divorce lawyer says take the deal, take the deal. Harold spent millions in legal fees to potentially save nothing. He basically paid for the privilege of being humiliated in public longer. Fun fact, he's now married to wife number 3. Third time's the charm, right? Number 17. Napoleon Bonaparte, who conquered Europe but got conquered by his mother-in-law. After divorcing Josephine for not giving him an heir, classy move, Napoleon, he married Marie Louise of Austria. She was 18, he was 40. He'd also been at war with her father for a decade, but Napoleon thought, surely this will create a stable alliance. Spoiler, it did not. When Napoleon was exiled to Elba, Marie Louise was supposed to join him. Instead, she stayed in Austria, started an affair with a count, and had 2 illegitimate children. When Napoleon escaped and made his comeback at Waterloo, she didn't even send a "good luck, babe" text. After Napoleon's final defeat, Marie Louise married her lover and basically pretended her first marriage never happened. She outlived Napoleon by 26 years and allegedly never mentioned him. Imagine conquering Moscow but not being able to keep your wife interested. That's gotta sting worse than the Russian winter. Number 16. Britney Spears and Jason Alexander. And no, not that Jason Alexander, though honestly, marrying George Costanza might have lasted longer. January 3rd, 2004, 5:30 a.m. Britney marries her childhood friend Jason in a Las Vegas wedding chapel. They wore baseball caps and trucker hats. The ceremony took 3 minutes. 55 hours later, it was annulled. That's barely enough time to get over the Vegas buffet hangover. The official reason? Lack of understanding of her actions to the extent that she was incapable of agreeing to the marriage. Translation: oops, I did it again. Britney's actual statement said she lacked understanding of her actions. Which is corporate speak for what happens in Vegas was supposed to stay in Vegas, but I accidentally filed legal paperwork. Here's the kicker. Her actual long-term marriage to Kevin Federline lasted 3 years, meaning her Vegas whoopsie had a better per-hour success rate than her planned marriage. Let that sink in. Number 15. Henry VII of England, who married his daughter off like a game of royal chess, except he forgot the rules. 1501. Henry's son Arthur marries Catherine of Aragon. Perfect alliance with Spain. 5 months later, Arthur dies. Awkward. But Henry VII is cheap. He's already paid the dowry. He's already got the Spanish alliance. So he does what any reasonable person would do. Betroths Catherine to his other son, Henry, his other son, the backup child. There's just one problem. Church law says you can't marry your brother's widow. It's in Leviticus. Henry VII gets a papal dispensation anyway, religious equivalent of a permission slip from mom. But then Henry VII dies before the marriage happens. His son, Henry VIII, inherits the throne and the fiancée. This decision, this penny-pinching, let's recycle the Spanish princess decision, led directly to Henry VIII's marriage to Catherine, which led to Henry VIII wanting a divorce, which led to the English Reformation, which split England from the Catholic Church, which changed European history forever. All because Dad didn't want to refund the dowry. Way to go, Henry. Number 14. Frank McCourt, the Dodgers owner who proved you can bankrupt both a marriage and a baseball team at the same time. Frank and Jamie McCourt bought the Los Angeles Dodgers in 2004. 6 years later, they're in the ugliest divorce in sports history. They fought over everything. The team, 6 homes, and most importantly, a post-nuptial agreement that may or may not have been valid. The kicker? Jamie claimed she co-owned the Dodgers. Frank said no. The fight got so nasty that Major League Baseball took over the team because the McCourt's divorce was affecting baseball operations. Think about that. Their marriage was so dysfunctional that the entire sport of baseball had to intervene. That's like fighting so loudly that the UN sends peacekeepers to your Thanksgiving dinner. Eventually, Frank was forced to sell the team for $2.15 billion, a record at the time. After legal fees and the divorce settlement, he walked away with around $1 billion. He turned a baseball team into the most expensive divorce in sports history. At least the new owners are competent, right, Dodgers fans? Number 13. Peter III of Russia, who married Catherine the Great and then speedran the worst marriage in Russian history. Peter and Catherine married in 1745. It was immediately clear they were incompatible. Peter was obsessed with toy soldiers. Literally, he played with them in bed. He was 16 years old in his behavior, except he was actually an adult running Russia. Catherine, meanwhile, was intelligent, ambitious, and politically savvy. She took lovers. He took more toy soldiers. When Peter became emperor in 1762, he immediately alienated everyone. He made peace with Prussia. Even though Russia was winning, he insulted the church. He tried to divorce Catherine publicly. Catherine had had enough. 6 months into his reign, she staged a coup with her lover, and the military Peter was forced to abdicate. A week later, he was dead, officially from hemorrhoidal colic, but historians agree he was murdered. From wedding to coup, 17 years. From becoming emperor to being deposed, 6 months. Peter III's marriage was so bad, his wife overthrew him and ruled Russia for 34 years as one of its greatest leaders. Moral of the story: if your wife is smarter than you, maybe don't give her a reason to commit treason. Number 12. Rupert Murdoch, the media mogul who's been married 5 times and keeps thinking, this time it'll be different. Rupert's first marriage lasted 31 years. Solid. Then he married Wendy Dung in 1999, 17 days after finalizing his divorce. Speed dating champion right here. That marriage lasted 14 years before ending amid rumors of an affair with Tony Blair, which Murdoch later called betrayal. Awkward. Then came Jerry Hall, Mick Jagger's ex. They married in 2016, divorced in 2022. Rupert was 91. But wait, there's more. In 2023, at age 92, Rupert got engaged to Anne Leslie Smith. 2 weeks later, he called it off. His reason? She was too religious and had different political views. Sir, you're 92 years old. What political views are deal breakers at this point? Tax policy in the afterlife? Then, in 2024, he married Elena Zhukova. Wife number 5. He's 93 years old. Rupert Murdoch owns media empires around the world but can't figure out marriage. At this point, he's speedrunning matrimony like it's a video game. Someone give this man a strategy guide. Okay, we're at the halfway point and I need to know. Which of these blunders shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're enjoying this historical train wreck tour, smash that subscribe button because we've got 11 more catastrophic marriages to go, and number 3 is absolutely wild. Trust me, you'll want to be subscribed for what's coming. Number 11, Henry VIII and Anne of Cleves, the marriage that lasted because of a Tinder profile catfish in 1540. Henry needed a 4th wife after Jane Seymour died. His advisor Thomas Cromwell recommended Anne of Cleves, a German princess. Henry asked for a portrait Hans Holbein painted one. It was flattering. When Anne arrived in England, Henry met her in disguise because he was quirky like that and was immediately horrified. He called her a Flanders mare, which is 16th century speak for she's a horse. But the political alliance was too important, so Henry married her anyway, spent 0 nights with her, then annulled the marriage 6 months later, citing non-consummation. Here's the dumb part. Henry blamed Thomas Cromwell for the catfish situation and had him executed. Because nothing says mature leadership like beheading your advisor for your own bad Tinder match. Anne, meanwhile, got a generous settlement, kept her head, and lived comfortably for 17 more years. She's literally the only one of Henry's wives who survived marriage to him unscathed. Moral: sometimes the fastest divorce is the best divorce, especially when your husband is Henry VIII. Number 10, Elon Musk and Tallulah Riley, who got married, divorced, remarried, then divorced again. It's like they couldn't decide if they liked each other or not. 2010, Elon and Tallulah get married, cool. 2012, they divorce. Elon tweets, "It was an amazing 4 years. I will love you forever." 2013, they remarry, because apparently forever means 8 months of thinking it over. 2016, they divorce again. For real this time, probably. The total cost? Around $20 million in settlements. That's $5 million per marriage certificate. Here's what's wild. Elon has been married 3 times to 2 different women. He married Tallulah twice and his first wife Justine once. He's also had multiple relationships and 10 children. But marrying the same person twice and divorcing them twice? That's a special kind of indecisive. It's like ordering the same meal at a restaurant, sending it back, ordering it again, then sending it back again. Elon runs SpaceX and Tesla, but can't figure out if he wants to be married. At least he's consistent in his inconsistency. And yes, he's currently in another relationship. We'll see how that goes. Number 9, King George IV and Caroline of Brunswick, the couple so toxic that Parliament got involved. 1795, George marries Caroline. He's drunk at the wedding. Literally, his aides had to hold him upright. Great start. He consummates the marriage exactly once, long enough to get her pregnant, then abandons her. He writes to a friend, "I had rather see toads and vipers crawling over my victuals than sit at the same table with her." Caroline, to her credit, said he was fat and smelled bad touche. They separated immediately. For 20 years, they lived apart. Caroline traveled Europe and allegedly had affairs. George definitely had affairs. When George became king in 1820, he tried to divorce Caroline and exclude her from his coronation. Parliament literally put her on trial for adultery. It became the biggest public scandal of the era. The trial failed. Caroline showed up at Westminster Abbey for the coronation anyway. They locked the doors in her face. She died 3 weeks later. George refused to attend her funeral. Even by royal marriage standards, this was impressively hostile. They turned marital dysfunction into a constitutional crisis. Number 8, Boris Becker, the tennis champion who proved that 5 minutes in a closet can cost you $20 million. 1999, Boris is married to Barbara Feltis. Everything's fine. Then he goes to a London restaurant called Nobu. He meets Russian model Angela Ermakova. They talk, they flirt. Then, and this is confirmed in court documents, they have sex in a broom closet at the restaurant. The encounter lasted approximately 5 minutes. Angela gets pregnant. Boris tries to deny paternity. DNA test confirms it's his. Oops. His wife Barbara divorces him. The settlement costs him an estimated $20 million. Plus, he has to pay child support for the closet baby. Let's do the math. $20 million divided by 5 minutes equals $4 million per minute. That's the most expensive closet encounter in human history. You could rent the entire restaurant for less. Boris later called it the most expensive 5 minutes of my life. He also went bankrupt in 2017 due to other financial issues. Turns out, winning Wimbledon doesn't make you smart with money or closets. The lesson? If you're going to cheat, at least don't do it in a broom closet at a public restaurant. Maybe rent a hotel room like a normal person? Just saying. Number 7. Lucrezia Borgia, the Renaissance woman who was married 3 times by age 21, and that's the least scandalous thing about her marriages. Marriage 1, age 13. Lucrezia marries Giovanni Sforza. Her father, Pope Alexander VI, yes, the Pope, annuls it 5 years later. Claiming non-consummation, Giovanni publicly insists he definitely consummated the marriage and says the Pope wants to marry Lucrezia himself. Yikes. Marriage 2, age 18. She marries Alfonso of Aragon. 2 years later, he's attacked by assassins and survives. Then he's strangled to death while recovering in bed. Everyone suspects Lucrezia's brother Cesare ordered the hit. Romance is dead, literally. Marriage 3, age 21. She marries Alfonso d'Este. This one actually lasts because Alfonso was powerful enough that the Borgias couldn't murder him. Lucrezia finally gets a marriage that doesn't end in annulment, conspiracy, or assassination. Here's the dumb blunder. Lucrezia's father and brother treated her marriages like chess pieces. They married her off for political alliances, then annulled or murdered her husbands when convenient. They didn't consider that pissing off Italian nobility might backfire. Spoiler, it backfired. The Borgia family collapsed within years. Turns out murdering your daughter's husbands is bad for long-term stability. Lucrezia, though? She lived to 39, had 8 kids, and became a respected patron of the arts. She outlived all the men who used her as a pawn icon status. Number 6. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, the marriage that became a meme, a trial, and a masterclass in what not to do. 2015. They get married, cool. 2016. Amber files for divorce citing abuse. Not cool. What follows is years of accusations, counter-accusations, leaked audio, bizarre testimony about fecal matter on a bed, and 2 defamation trials in 2 countries. The 2022 Virginia trial became the most watched legal proceeding in history. People were watching it like a Netflix series. There were SNL skits, TikToks, memes. It was a cultural phenomenon. Here's the dumb blunder. Both of them took their private marriage disaster and turned it into a public spectacle. Whether you believe Johnny, Amber, or neither, one thing's clear. They both lost. Johnny won the defamation case but spent millions on lawyers and had his reputation dragged through the mud. Amber lost the case and owes millions in damages. The smart move would have been settling quietly, getting therapy, and moving on. Instead, they aired every detail of their dysfunctional relationship on live TV. The lesson? Some things should stay private. Your toxic marriage should not be a ratings hit on court TV. Though honestly, the real losers were all of us who couldn't stop watching. Number 5. Emperor Nero, who took bad husband to Roman emperor levels of insane. Nero married 3 times. Each marriage was worse than the last. Wife number 1, Claudia Octavia, daughter of Emperor Claudius. Nero cheated on her constantly, falsely accused her of adultery, exiled her, then had her executed at age 22. Her head was delivered to Nero's mistress Poppaea. Classy guy. Wife number 2, that mistress, Poppaea. They got married. Nero allegedly kicked her to death while she was pregnant because she complained he came home late from the chariot races. The ancient historians report this. Whether it's true or propaganda, the fact that people believed Nero would do this says a lot. Wife number 3, Statilia Messalina. Nero had her husband executed so he could marry her. Romantic. But here's the truly insane part. After Poppaea died, Nero missed her. So he found a teenage boy named Sporus who looked like her, had him castrated, dressed him in women's clothes, and married him in a public ceremony. Yes, you read that correctly. Nero married a teenage boy he castrated to replace his dead wife. Ancient Rome was wild, but even by their standards, Nero was unhinged. The Senate eventually declared him a public enemy. He committed suicide at age 30. Moral: if you have to murder people to stay married, maybe marriage isn't for you. Number 4. Cleopatra VII of Egypt, who married both of her younger brothers because Ptolemaic Egypt said incest is fine, actually. Cleopatra's family, the Ptolemies, had a long tradition of sibling marriage to keep the bloodline pure. Cleopatra was no exception. At age 18, she became co-ruler of Egypt and married her 10-year-old brother, Ptolemy XIII. Yes, 10 years old. Yes, her brother. Unsurprisingly, the marriage was a political disaster. They fought for power. It triggered a civil war. Ptolemy XIII drowned in the Nile trying to escape battle. Most people think Cleopatra had him killed. Good vibes all around. Then she married her other younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, who was 12. This marriage also ended conveniently. Ptolemy XIV died of mysterious causes, probably poisoning historians suspect Cleopatra or her lover Julius Caesar had him killed. So let's recap. Cleopatra married two of her brothers. Both died under suspicious circumstances, both were children when they married her. The dumb blunder here isn't just the incest, it's the Ptolemaic dynasty thinking sibling marriage would stabilize the kingdom. Instead, it created generations of power struggles, murders, and genetic issues. Cleopatra herself broke the cycle by having children with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, neither of whom were her relatives. Progress. But those relationships didn't end great either. Cleopatra eventually committed suicide after Mark Antony's defeat. Still, marrying your siblings is somehow worse than suicide by AC. Ancient Egypt was a different time. Number 3. King Henry VIII and Catherine Howard. The marriage that was doomed the second it started, and Henry was too arrogant to notice. 1540. Henry is 49 years old, overweight, with a festering leg wound that smells so bad his courtiers can smell him from rooms away. He marries 17-year-old Catherine Howard, his fifth wife. Red flags everywhere. Catherine was young, flirtatious, and had a romantic history before marriage. Henry was old, paranoid, and had already executed one wife. Henry called Catherine his rose without a thorn. She was not without thorns. Within a year, rumors emerged that Catherine was having an affair with Thomas Culpeper, a courtier. Also, that she'd had premarital relationships that she didn't disclose. Henry's advisors investigated. They found love letters. They found testimony from servants. It was bad. Henry's response? Public breakdown. He cried in front of his council. He armed himself and wandered the palace, ranting about Catherine's betrayal. Then he had her arrested. Catherine was executed on February 13, 1542. She was 18 or 19 years old. Her last words were reportedly, "I die a queen, but I would rather die the wife of Culpeper." Here's the dumb blunder. Henry married a teenager with a sketchy past, ignored all the warning signs, then acted shocked when she wasn't faithful. He was a 49-year-old king with absolute power who couldn't figure out that teenage girls don't want to marry old men with leg ulcers. This marriage lasted 18 months. Henry went through 6 wives total. 2 were executed. 2 were divorced. 1 died in childbirth. Only one, Anne of Cleves, escaped with her head and her dignity. Henry VIII's love life was a masterclass in catastrophically bad decision-making, and Catherine Howard's marriage might be the worst of them all. Number 2. Dennis Rodman and Carmen Electra, the Las Vegas marriage that makes Britney Spears look like a relationship expert. November 1998. Dennis Rodman, NBA star and professional chaos agent, marries Baywatch actress Carmen Electra in Las Vegas. They'd been dating for a few months. The next morning, Dennis tried to get the marriage annulled, as in the next morning, the literal day after. His reason? He claimed he was of unsound mind, which is technically true. It's Dennis Rodman being of unsound mind is his brand. The annulment didn't go through immediately, so they actually stayed married for a few months. During that time, they were apparently on and off constantly. Carmen later said they had a passionate but volatile relationship. The marriage was officially annulled in April 1999. 6 months after the wedding, Carmen cited fraud as the reason. Here's what makes this marriage historically dumb. Dennis had literally married himself in a previous publicity stunt. He showed up in a wedding dress and married himself. So when he married Carmen, everyone knew it was a terrible idea, except Dennis and Carmen. Carmen later admitted, "We were drunk, we were having fun. We said, let's just go get married." Then she added, "One day we had a major fight, and Dennis locked himself in his room and wouldn't come out." The lesson? What happens in Vegas should stay in Vegas, especially marriage certificates. At least Dennis got material for his memoir, and Carmen got a wild story for talk shows. Win-win. And now, the number 1 dumbest marriage blunder in history. King Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon, the marriage that literally split Christianity. We've already covered Henry's marriage to his brother's widow earlier in the countdown, but we need to talk about what happened when Henry wanted a divorce. 1509. Henry marries Catherine. She's been his brother Arthur's widow for 8 years. Remember, Henry's dad arranged this to keep the Spanish alliance. Papal dispensation was granted. For 20 years, the marriage is fine. Catherine gives birth multiple times, but only one child survives. Mary, no male heir. Henry becomes obsessed with having a son. He's also become obsessed with Anne Boleyn, one of Catherine's ladies-in-waiting. So he decides, I need a divorce problem. The Catholic Church doesn't allow divorce. Henry argues the marriage was never valid because Catherine was his brother's widow, citing Leviticus. Never mind that the Pope already gave dispensation for exactly this issue. Pope Clement VII refuses the annulment, partly because Catherine's nephew is Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor, who has the Pope under political pressure. So what does Henry do? He creates his own church, the Church of England. He declares himself the supreme head of the church. He grants himself a divorce. He marries Anne Boleyn. This triggers the English Reformation. England breaks from Rome, monasteries are dissolved, religious wars break out across Europe. The Protestant Catholic split deepens. Thousands die in religious conflicts over the next century, all because Henry wanted to trade in his wife for a newer model and have a male heir. The irony? Anne Boleyn gives birth to a daughter, Elizabeth, no son. Henry has Anne executed 3 years later on false charges of adultery and treason. He then marries Jane Seymour, who finally gives him a son, Edward, but dies in childbirth. Edward becomes king at age 9 and dies at 15. Guess who ends up being the greatest monarch of the Tudor line? Elizabeth I, the daughter Henry didn't want. She ruled for 45 years during England's golden age. So let's summarize the damage. Henry created a new religion, split England from Catholic Europe, executed 2 wives, triggered centuries of religious conflict, dissolved hundreds of monasteries, all to have a son who died as a teenager, while the daughter he didn't want became England's greatest queen. This is the #1 dumbest marriage blunder in history, because one man's midlife crisis and fragile ego literally changed the course of Western civilization. Henry VIII couldn't keep it in his pants, and couldn't accept that maybe, just maybe, he was the problem. Instead, he burned down European religious unity and killed thousands of people. And the worst part? Catherine of Aragon was a faithful wife for 20 years, a skilled diplomat, and even served as regent when Henry was away at war. She was competent, intelligent, and loyal. Henry threw it all away because he wanted a son and a younger wife. Catherine lived in exile until 1536, never accepting the divorce, always claiming to be Henry's true wife. Her last letter to Henry read, "I forgive you everything, and I pray God to do so likewise. For the rest I commend unto you our daughter Mary, beseeching you to be a good father unto her." Class act until the end. Henry VIII's marriage to Catherine of Aragon isn't just a personal failure, it's a historical catastrophe that reshaped religion, politics, and culture for centuries. And it all started because a king couldn't accept no for an answer. So, there you have it. 20 of the dumbest marriage blunders in history. From inbred royalty to billionaire divorces, from Vegas chapels to papal schisms, humanity has found every possible way to screw up marriage. What have we learned? Number 1. Don't marry your relatives. Ever. Number 2. Prenups exist for a reason. Number 3. If you're a king who wants a divorce, maybe don't create a new religion. Number 4. Vegas marriages are never a good idea. Number 5. And for the love of God, don't have affairs in broom closets at public restaurants. But here's the thing, these marriages failed spectacularly, but they also remind us that humans have always been messy, emotional, and irrational. Kings, queens, billionaires, celebrities, they all make the same stupid mistakes we do, just with bigger consequences. Now, I want to hear from you. Which marriage blunder shocked you the most? Did I miss any catastrophic marriages? And most importantly, what's the worst marriage decision you've ever witnessed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into historical relationship disasters, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, because I've got more historical chaos coming your way, and trust me, humanity's bad decisions are an endless well of entertainment. Share this video with a friend who needs to feel better about their love life, because no matter how bad their last breakup was, at least they didn't trigger the Protestant Reformation. Thanks for watching. Remember, learn from history or you're doomed to become a cautionary tale in someone else's YouTube video. I'll see you in the next one. Stay smart, stay single, or at the very least, stay away from broom closets.